Oh my gosh, I'm gonna end up just I'm gonna end up just looking at myself all the time. Okay. So I don't know if this video is gonna be like 3 minutes long or like an hour. Hopefully it's not an hour because I don't want to edit an hour. But basically, uh, well, my name is Jacob. I'm a filmmaker and I'm a senior in high school. And I'm not really sure. I'm not really sure if, if anyone's gonna see this or what. But I'd be honored for you to have me playing in the background while you're, doing your while you're doing your chores or something. I'm just the background fodder for your the important things you have to do with your life. That's totally fine. I'm kind of using this as a personal vlog because I don't really know if journaling works for me or writing. It just takes too long to get all the thoughts out. And, you know, in this current day and age, I think that we're missing my perspective. Well, not my perspective is not like as in me, but as in high schoolers and teenagers and people who are transitioning into adulthood, because it's a chaotic time. But I think I'm quite I make my life extra chaotic because I try so hard to do so much like I try so hard to be like successful, you know what I mean? Like I want to make sure I'm taking advantage of all the resources that I have. It's like, I don't know if you can hear that. There's like a cop. There's like a cop driving by or something. Um, but anyway, I don't even know if this is content that people are going to be interested in seeing. But recently I went to see Iron Lung yesterday, and then Markiplier put out a video that was called "I Didn't Think This Was Possible," and he talked about how he just was hoping that Iron Lung, could just inspire someone to create, and it worked because it inspired me to create. So, Markiplier, good job, you succeeded. And as I was watching that video, and he's just breaking down and just talking honestly and openly, it was really refreshing. And his work on that film was just incredible. I think it's so cool to see someone that really cares. And I realized that while I was watching that movie, like, all I really want to see is just people who care about the films that they're making. And that's really what makes a great film, because I have such sporadic taste, and I think that seeing that was really cool. And I realized that's all I really craved, was art that had meaning. And I want to care about my art, and I want you to care about your art. And I think that seeing that was so affirming to that sort of belief and that way of thinking. And anyway, I don't really know where I'm going with any of this. What I'm trying to say is I want to open up more for the camera, and I want to create. So the account that this is on right now is called The Picture Roost, and it's a studio name that I came up with, and it's a brand that I'm considering detaching from, just simply for virtue of I don't want to zone in on a brand when there's people that might hesitate to work with me in the future, like studios or whatever. Anyway, it doesn't matter. But I want to start posting more on here, just giving an honest insight into my perspective. But anyway, that's kind of where my head's at. I guess more on, for those of you that don't know, I'm going to college in August. So that's in March, April, May, June, July, August. Like that's in like 7 months. That's like half a year. And I'm waiting to hear back from Chapman University. I may make a video on that or something. And it's that, or I'll stay here in town. I live in Las Vegas. Don't come find me. Just kidding. Yeah, I live in Las Vegas, and I'd really like to go to Chapman University to pursue film. So I'm waiting to hear back from that, and it's quite existential. Like, on top of how nuts everything is just in the world in general right now, having to be in the middle of just transition to adulthood, it really feels like we pulled the short straw here. But that's just how life is, so that's just how life is. It's always gonna be hard. There's always chaos, and the big thing I wanted to talk about and bring up and open up about, for this being my kind of personal journal, but also wanted to sharing with you guys, is that existentialism and how chaotic that is, and just kind of trying to figure out why I choose to make my life so much more chaotic. I mean, in a great way. There's kind of like an arts collective space opening up here, called Third Street, and I was asked to kind of spearhead a project there, which is the Las Vegas High School Film Festival, and that involves contacting schools and getting people to submit, and spreading the word, and that's so much responsibility, and I keep taking on so much responsibility, and then telling myself that I shouldn't be taking on all this responsibility, but then it always pays off, and I always know it was worth it. And it feels chaotic, like a lot. It feels super chaotic a lot, and your life might feel chaotic a lot too. But it really helps highlight that the grass is always greener. Like, I try so desperately to be successful, and it almost feels like I'm running away from something. Like, I'm trying so desperately to run away from the kind of version of myself that isn't, like, not ideal, or is lazy, or isn't, that's just a chasing potential, I guess, is the way to put it. And that's pretty stressful, But yeah, I guess that's like the first thing that's been on my mind. The second thing is, I don't even know what I want this channel to operate as. Like, if you're even still here listening, like, I hope you're doing the dishes. I hope you're doing the dishes or something. Or I hope or you're driving, or, well, don't be watching if you're driving. But listen, I don't know. I hope I'm just in the background, and you can appreciate where I'm coming from. But I want to share my journey towards the end of high school, and into college with you guys, 'cause I feel like what the world's missing right now is just honest, like, honesty, transparency. Everything feels like it's trying to convince you of one thing or the other, or it's trying to persuade you to buy something, or it's trying to get you to be one side of the political spectrum, or it's trying to, and I want to foster an environment where we can just be in our fields and just experience life in a peaceful way, and not have to worry about, like, I'm not here to sell you anything, and I guess that's weird. Maybe that's why the retention's probably gonna be so bad. The curve's gonna go, what, like, maybe not, because I don't know, like, part of me wants, I feel like part of all of us wants to blow up. Success stories of people who pop up and all of a sudden are living the dream, and it just feels so out of the blue, and you're just, and I'm just confused. Honestly, I'm confused. It's like, what do I need to do differently? And it feels like such a chase for attention, such a chase to grab people's attention, and to keep it, and to try so desperately to provide value, when I think in that we just become so chaotic, and so, like, we put up a facade, we put up walls that are just kind of pointless, almost, like, well, not pointless, because a lot of people do have these wonderful values that they're sharing with people, and they're providing so much value to people's lives through their platforms, and that's fantastic. But then the other half is drop shippers, and it's like, I feel like there's a lot of deceiving. There's something so deceiving about the internet and news and social media and all that, and I guess tying it back to what I was saying with Iron Lung is it's so refreshing to see people just create. And I want so desperately to be in a community like that and to build a community like that. And I think that's another one of my goals, you know. And let me get like I have this little notebook. It's like really thick and it's on like rings, so it's a little bit inconvenient to like hold. It's just, I don't know, it feels kind of flimsy. But it's good to write in here anyway. But if you haven't heard of Creator Camp Studio, it's a collective of online content creators that came together and formed a movie studio, and they started their own film festival, and they just released their first feature film, which is called Two Sleepy People, which is also freaking fantastic. And it's because they care, and I just want to care, and I want people to care. And it's exhausting to be running from the worst version of yourself, and to be simultaneously surrounded by people who are okay being caught by their own version of their worst self. You know, you see potential in people, and it's nothing is more tragic than lost potential. Especially now, because that's the other thing is, yes, of course it's chaotic to be a teenager, but it's also, we have so much freedom. So if you're an adult watching this or listening to this because you're like, what are these guys thinking? Like, there's still some of us out there that know, yeah, it's a lot of responsibility to be an adult. Like, I get that. Like, I totally get that. And that's why it's so sad to see people who don't care, who are my age, who are transitioning into adulthood. It's so sad to see people who don't care because we have all the time. We have all the time in the world. You know, we have all the time in the world. Because I'm starting before Markiplier did, but I mean, Markiplier is freaking charming, and he's like brilliant, and he's so lovable. And you know, you see people posting, this guy deserves the world, and there's a part of me that, you know, that's like, you know, I want people to think I deserve the world too. I want to be that person for people, you know, like I want to be a friend, like I want to provide value to people's lives so badly. You know what I mean? So I wrote here ideas and goals, right? So make a creator camp. Not literally, because they already did it, but what I mean by that is like, I want a community of people that care and that are brilliant and that have passion for the arts and you know, really digging their nails into the human experience to create beautiful things, man. That's another thing is I feel like I'm looking here and I'm looking here because this is the camera. I need to learn how to look there. But that right there is my face, and it's easier to feel like I'm talking to someone, even though it's me, and it's just this, it's a whatever. But I'm talking to you, so forgive me. It's so easy to fall victim to existentialism, and I like thinking about kind of lost my train of thought. Yeah, it's so easy to become existential about everything. That's a really challenging thing to overcome, on top of, you know, already being stressed about all these different things you have to do. To be existential about life, it just makes it all the more, like, so much more difficult. And listen, like, I'm one to talk. I'm not trying to preach anything to you, because I do it too. I mean, I'm stressed out all the time. But it gets to a point where it's like you can't let that stress get to you. But yeah, I've got a lot on my plate. You've got a lot on your plate. And it gets to a point where you have so much on your plate that it's like you have to, like, strategically plan what you're thinking about at any given moment. Like, there's stuff that I need to do that I'm not even thinking about right now, and then there's stuff that I need to do that I am thinking about. But I guess the idea of being successful is dangerous, because you're setting a bar that's subject. Because I'm successful. I'm a very successful person in many people's eyes. You know, like, my short film system is it's made me an award-winning filmmaker. You know what I mean? Like, it's gone to festivals. already. I'm how old? I'm 17 years old, and that's a big deal. But I'm I'm constantly chasing more, and I guess that's why I put so much on my plate, because I take on as much as I know I can handle, and I'm pushing myself. I saw this brilliant thing, and it was this young man who's also a filmmaker, and I don't remember his name, but he was talking about a short film he was working on. It's called Lure, Lure. It's about like fishing and folklore, and it's in the festival circuit right now. And he said, in context of film, but I think this goes for life, know what you're capable of, and then do 10% more. Know what you're capable of, and then do 10% more. So, I guess if you've stayed long enough for that, congrats and thank you. You get that little something to think about. I'll be making more videos like this. So, if you're doing the dishes, or if you're hanging your clothes, or cleaning your room, or writing a paper that you're not really fully focused on, because you know darn well that you can't watch YouTube and work on your homework at the same time. Good luck with that. I hope you give it 10% more than you would if you hadn't have seen this video. And it's like 11 p.m. on a school night, so I'm gonna go to bed.